Can we call upon other than Allah? In the case of Shia Islam, we hear Shia Muslims saying Ya Ali. There are some Muslims who stay away from Shia Islam because of this concept, so we will clarify this in depth. Even some Shia Muslims leave Shia Islam for not understanding this concept, so this clarification is for a broader group of people, so that the other faiths within Islam and those Shia Muslims who leave Shia Islam gets a well-grounded knowledge on this, so that hearts will feel reassured, Allah willing. I'm sorry if you hear any background sound from family members or just any other sound except for my voice. It is inevitable to avoid. I'm not forcing this belief upon anyone. You as the listener can reflect upon this if this is true or not. You may agree or disagree. So from Shia Islam's perspective, is it permissible to call upon other than Allah? It is permissible, and proofs will be given so that claim can be made that it is permissible within whole of Islam. Firstly, it is okay to call upon other besides Allah because we call upon each other every day, day-to-day life. You call upon me and I call upon you. I ask you for help and you ask me for help. We have certainly come across ourselves and others who refer to our names and says, "Oh, please can you help me with this?" or just calling you by your name. So here it is already a logical proof that we can call upon other than Allah, and we do so, and it is permissible. And when we look into the Quran is also evidence of this, when the sons of Prophet Jacob called and begged their father and said to him, "Pray for the forgiveness of our sins," in chapter 12 verse 97. The sons of Jacob didn't directly turn to Allah, yet their request was answered by Allah. In another chapter, the people of Moses called upon Moses for water instead of calling upon Allah directly, and they were given water by Allah. This is mentioned in chapter 7 verse 170. Yet also in other chapters, namely chapter 20 verse 29 to 31 and chapter 28 verse 34, Prophet Moses, when he was going to meet Pharaoh, asked Allah to send with him a helper from his family and someone who would strengthen Prophet Moses alongside his mission. Why didn't Prophet Moses just say, "Ya Allah, only you are my helper and through you I am strengthened"? Instead, Allah answered Prophet Moses and sent him Prophet Aaron, so Allah through Prophet Aaron strengthened Prophet Moses. It is also mentioned within these verses that Prophet Moses told Allah that Prophet Aaron is more eloquent than himself with speech, so it would be good to bring Prophet Aaron for this purpose also when confronting Pharaoh. Why didn't Prophet Moses say, "Ya Allah, make me good in my speech, I do not need anyone besides you"? Allah accepted Prophet Aaron as a helper to Prophet Moses and did not mention in these verses that this request is impermissible. Thus, from all of these examples, we understand that help through each other in the way of Allah and calling upon each other in the way of Allah is permissible within Islam. For us to get knowledge, we don't just say, "Ya Allah, give us knowledge," and we are enriched with it. Rather, we have to go through, for instance, university or reading books. For a bacterial infection to be removed in our body, we cannot just say, "Ya Allah, get rid of it for me," and it is gone. Rather, Allah encourages us to take antibiotics and other medicines for us to be treated. Why go to university or get medicines if we can just turn to Allah directly for Him to solve our problems? If we are only going to turn to Allah, then why do we drink water, or why do we prostrate towards the Kaaba, which is a stone-like building, or make circles towards the Kaaba? Here we can understand, and through the Quran verses we have presented, that help through each other and calling upon each other in the way of Allah is permissible. As long as we understand that the intermediary ways mentioned here are going to lead us to Allah, and it is Allah who is the ultimate helper, then this concept is perfectly fine. For instance, the one who quenched my thirst is Allah, but the water is an intermediary way. Same with books. The knowledge I get, it is Allah that makes me understand, but through the books from someone else. Shaitan didn't have any problem prostrating to Allah directly. He had problem with the intermediate way in Prophet Adam to reach Allah, so Allah cursed him. This is a big lesson for this discussion. It is fine to go through means for us to reach Allah. We can reach Allah directly and indirectly through means. Both is acceptable. If we only turn to Allah, then this is contradictory to what is happening in our life with every intermediary way available and permissible. Then why does Allah in the Quran mention, "Do not invoke anyone besides me," or "There is no helper besides Allah" in chapter 72 verse 18 and chapter 2 verse 107? When it comes to the verses mentioning about not invoking anyone besides Allah, both Sunni and Shia interpretations mentions the word invoke to mean "do not worship anyone besides Allah." The word invoke in the Quran can be defined as either to call upon someone, such as in Surah 3 verse 61 when Allah ordered the Prophet to call upon his family members to come with him to a meeting with the Christians, or it can also be defined as worshipping someone, such as Surah 72 verse 18 in which the word invoke has been used for worship purpose. The word invoke in Arabic terms is dua, and the word dua in the Quran can also refer to worship, not actual calling upon someone. What we get from this is that same Arabic word is applied for both definitions, one being to call upon someone and the other for worship, such as prayer. And it is not true that within the word worship, calling upon Allah only is included, since calling upon can be done to anyone, not only Allah. So when we read in chapter 72 verse 18 the following, that the masjids are for Allah, so do not invoke with Allah anyone, then it is logical to state that we as Muslims do not worship anyone besides Allah. To call upon someone is not to worship someone. As mentioned, if I call upon you and you call upon me, is it okay? It is. So the word invoke in the Quran does not always mean to call upon. It has the meaning of worship, and it is true that we shouldn't worship anyone besides Allah. He is the creator of everything, only He is independent while everyone needs Him. No one can exist without Allah, and no one can do anything without the permission of Allah. This is exactly what Shia Muslims believes in. In worship, Shia Muslims do not do it to anyone except for Allah, such as prayers and fasting, and giving charity in the way of Allah. But calling upon Allah and other than Allah is absolutely permissible. We have to consider the intention of what we are calling. And when it comes to the verses talking about there is no helper besides Allah, it doesn't mean we cannot ask anyone else for help in the way of Allah. Rather, these verses are referring to every help, whether a direct help from Allah or from His creation. Ultimately, every help is from Allah. Then we have the polytheists who gets help from other than Allah. They do not see Allah as the true God, so they see a helper besides Allah, which is the true interpretation of these verses in the Quran. They see the ones they are calling upon as gods rather than Allah, the true and only God. But when Allah in the Quran mentions there isn't any helper besides Allah in, for instance, chapter 9 verse 116, it doesn't mean we cannot ask each other for help or that calling upon each other is wrong. Nay, rather we can do so in the way of Allah, as the sons of Prophet Jacob did and as the people of Prophet Moses did in the Quran, and as we do with each other in day-to-day life. So long as we do not see the creation we are asking or calling upon to be Allah, in which the polytheists did in their hearts. But when I as a Shia Muslim call upon, for instance, Imam Ali, I do not see him as Allah in my heart or any sense like the polytheists. Rather, I see him as a helper in Allah's way with certain knowledge and power he has been given by Allah to help. Just like you when I ask you for help in the way of Allah and you are able to help with your degree of knowledge and power, not that you are Allah Himself. When it comes to us Shia Muslims, we worship none other than Allah. We do not see any helper besides Him. Allah is the creator of everything and nothing works without Him. We do not pray towards Imam Ali, we pray towards the Kaaba, worshipping Allah. And yes, help through each other to reach Allah is included when Allah mentions there is no helper besides Him, because what this verse means is that Allah is the final destination. He is the one who is behind every help. So even if I ask a friend for help, I have to acknowledge that it is Allah through my friend who made my case possible. The intention here is, when I call upon Allah, I call upon the Maker, the creator of everything, no partner besides Him. And when I call upon someone else, the intention is that through Allah this someone will help me, so both leads to Allah as the ultimate goal. Hence it is permissible. But if I see this someone besides Allah I call upon as independent from Allah, it is invalid and fallen into shirk. In other words, associating partners with Allah. I mean, if we think about it, everything in life is presented as an intermediate way to reach Allah, except for worship. As an example, the prayer is only to Allah, but the prayer in a sense is also an intermediate way to Allah, since prayer is in the way between ourselves and the Creator, and not a direct face-to-face between oneself and Allah. Examples out of many intermediate ways to reach Allah is to interact with people, taking medicines, following Prophet's Sunnah instead for a direct guide between oneself and Allah, and the Book of Allah, the Quran, instead of direct talk between oneself and Allah, which by the way is not within logical realm, since Allah is not in need of speech as an act and is outside actions altogether in His essence, so that something else speaks for Him. Someone can interfere here and say, but didn't Prophet Moses directly talk to Allah? It is not mentioned within the Quran that it was a direct talk. It could be that Allah through something made a voice that is not His voice in His essence, since the voice in itself is created and not Allah Himself. Nothing is like unto Allah. Isn't it so that the angels do for Allah when specific angels bring rain with the order of Allah, or that the death angel extracts the soul from the body, or for an angel to control the wind? In the same way, it is not Allah that speaks when Allah talks to Prophet Moses. Something or someone speaks for him. We went a bit off topic, but as we can see, there are plenty of intermediary ways between ourselves and Allah. So to ask for help through each other or to call upon each other without seeing each other as gods is perfectly fine. Moving on, now that we have understood that we can call upon each other in the way of Allah and that we can ask each other for help in the way of Allah, as long as we do not worship those we call upon, and as long as we understand that the help we get from, for instance, the medicine we take or our friend we ask for help is ultimately help from Allah, then we can perhaps understand Shia Islam's concept of calling upon Ali, that it is okay to say, Ya Ali. But isn't Imam Ali dead? When the sons of Prophet Jacob in the Quran turned to Prophet Jacob, he was present, but Imam Ali is not present, is he? It will first be stated that we use Imam Ali as an example, but this is also correct in regard to calling upon Prophet Muhammad or any other representative of Allah. The conditions for me to call upon someone and for it to be permissible is for that person to be present in being alive, be able to hear, and perhaps also be able to help. So we can analyze this case for Imam Ali. The Quran in chapter 2 verse 154 states that martyrs in the way of Allah are alive, but we cannot perceive it. So we cannot perceive Allah with our senses, yet He exists. We cannot perceive gravity, but it exists. The angel on the right and the angel to the left, we cannot perceive, but they exist and are present, writing our deeds. Likewise, this verse is stating for us that in the case of Imam Ali and other righteous servants of Allah, they are alive, but we cannot perceive it. So the first condition is clear, that Imam Ali is alive. Now, can Imam Ali hear us and be able to respond to us when we call upon him in the way of Allah? I will give proof that this is absolutely possible. Firstly, Imam Ali can only do so if Allah has allowed it for Imam Ali, giving him this knowledge and power. It is not from himself. And the second argument for why it is possible is because with Allah's permission, all types of creation from Allah has been given degrees of knowledge and power. Shaitan, for instance, the enemy of Allah, can whisper to billions of people simultaneously. Can then not Imam Ali hear us and respond to us if Allah wills for Imam Ali to do so in the way of Allah? Shaitan is within us and whispers to us, so it is fully possible in the case of Imam Ali with the concept of calling him. Imam Ali is an imam to mankind, while Shaitan is an imam to mankind in opposite purpose, doing evil. How come Allah allows for Shaitan to have such great power and knowledge, but not for his righteous true servant to have knowledge and power to help in pursuit of good? Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, could resurrect the dead. Chapter 3 verse 49 tells us, the death angels ask billions of people simultaneously in the grave, and in the Quran, a servant of Prophet Solomon, not even a prophet or a messenger, and is described to have only little knowledge from Allah, could teleport long distances and come back to the same spot within the blink of an eye, as we can read this in chapter 27 verse 37 to 40. By these examples, we can understand that for Imam Ali to be given knowledge and power by Allah to hear us and respond to us is fully possible and permitted within Islam. As long as we do not see Ali as Allah, and as long as we understand everything mentioned here is by the will of Allah. Allah already gives examples that it is possible for His creatures to perform miracles and to have some knowledge of the unseen by the permission of Allah. After all, Allah mentions in the Quran that He shares His knowledge to whom He wills. We have to believe in the unseen and miracles. We do not have only the physical and materialistic aspect of life, but rather also a metaphysical and spiritual aspect of life. To believe in the unseen and to believe in miracles is, for instance, to believe that those in the graves are not dead, to believe that jinns are present with us and there are angels why we cannot perceive. Likewise, it is not far-fetched to believe that Allah has given Imam Ali power and knowledge to hear us and respond to us, just like you can hear me and respond to my problems in the way of Allah by being given knowledge and power from Allah to you. In the 16th century, mobile phones did not exist so that we could contact each other from long distances, but today it is practical and easy from, for instance, Sweden to get in contact with someone from China with only one phone call. If I in the 16th century, with the knowledge I have today, told someone in that time that it is possible for someone to hear me 5,000 kilometers away, then this person from the 16th century would think I am crazy. But isn't it fully possible today to do so? You might think, what do I want to come with this example? But I say that this is exactly how we can understand that, for instance, Imam Ali, with the will of Allah, can hear us if we call upon him and for him to respond within us. Isn't this possible for Allah to do so? How do we more understand that it is possible for Imam Ali to be able to hear us and help us with the permission of Allah? To understand this, we have to understand the relationship between Allah and Prophet Muhammad to Imam Ali. I will bring only Sunni narrations for us to understand who Imam Ali is. About Imam Ali, it is mentioned that no one should represent the Prophet except the Prophet himself or Imam Ali, and that Prophet Muhammad asked Allah to bring him the most beloved of creation to eat with him, so Allah brought Imam Ali to Prophet Muhammad. Further, it states about Imam Ali that he is the Mawla over anyone whomever the Prophet is Mawla over. The word Mawla in the Quran chapter 10 verse 30 is used when describing Allah as master over someone, and in another Sunni source, namely Jami' at-Tirmidhi 3940, the word Mawla is used for only Allah and Prophet Muhammad. Another Sunni narration states that Ali is the wali of every believer after the Prophet. The word wali has been translated to be meant as an ally within this Sunni narration in regard to Imam Ali, but in another Sunni narration, Sahih Bukhari 5358, the same word is translated to successor when Abu Bakr describes himself in this narration as wali of the Prophet Muhammad. Further narration states about Imam Ali that only a believer loves him and only a hypocrite hates him, meaning for one to know if one is a believer or a hypocrite, one should check within oneself for an answer if one loves Imam Ali or not. It also states about Imam Ali that he, together with his family in Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein and Fatima, was purified from all uncleanliness thoroughly. This Sunni narration describes an incident when the Prophet took Imam Ali under his cloak, so a Quran verse, chapter 33 verse 33 was revealed to him and his family. In one of the translations to this verse, it states also that they are purified from impurity of sin. We can read in another Sunni source that Prophet Muhammad, before he died, had a speech to his people stating that he is leaving behind two weighty things. If we adhere to it, we will not go astray: the Quran and his family from Imam Ali and his descendants. A Sunni narration also mentions that it was talked about by people that a will from the Prophet has been made in favor of Imam Ali being the first successor, and that Imam Ali is to Prophet Muhammad as Prophet Aaron was to Prophet Moses. Throughout the Quran, we can read that Prophet Aaron and Prophet Moses are closest to each other. Whenever Moses went for a mission, he placed Aaron for the remaining people, and also for Aaron to come with Moses as a helper to him when confronting Pharaoh. This is mentioned in chapter 20 verse 29 to 32 and chapter 7 verse 122 to 126. The reference for all these authentic narrations are from Jami' at-Tirmidhi 3712, 3713, 3719, 3721, 3730, 3732, 3788, Sunan an-Nasai 5022, Sunan Ibn Majah 1626, Sahih Muslim 1636, 2408a, 2424, and Sahih Bukhari 3009. Besides this beautiful bond between Prophet Muhammad and Imam Ali, but also his status in both Sunni and Shia Islam, Imam Ali is also by both sides of Islam seen as a successor to Prophet Muhammad, whether it is the first successor according to Shia Islam or the fourth according to Sunni Islam. Nonetheless, a successor to Prophet Muhammad is someone who has been taught by Allah and his Prophet to hold the religion after, so that every knowledge and power is passed on to the successor for the people after to be rightly guided to the religion of Islam with this authority over them present. A successor has not only been taught everything about the Quran and the religion to answer everything from the people so that they can get guided to the Prophet's way of living, but also been instilled with noble morals, ethics, and exemplary character, as none should represent the Prophet except someone as a successor. This man, the successor, is possessor of much knowledge and power for him to hold the religion of Islam. Someone who guides mankind back to Prophet Muhammad must be knowledgeable of everything within the Quran and its interpretations and hidden meanings. To have knowledge of everything within the Quran is to be given much knowledge from Allah, because remember, a servant of Prophet Solomon had little knowledge from Allah and he could teleport. Imam Ali has much more knowledge because he is learned through the Prophet, the best of creation. To reach the Prophet, one must go through the successors, so it is not far-fetched to believe that Imam Ali, with the knowledge and power from Allah given to him, that he can hear us and help us in the way of Allah. After all, the status of Imam Ali with Allah is that he is an Imam to mankind, because that is the title of a successor to Prophet Muhammad for both Sunni and Shia Islam. What is this magnificent role? We understand the role of an Imam to mankind by reading the Quran chapter 2 verse 124, when Allah made Prophet Abraham an Imam to mankind after his prophethood and after the fulfillment of all his tests with Allah. This mighty status is also shared with the successors of the Prophet Muhammad, as the successors of the Prophet Muhammad are Imams to mankind. Allah mentions in the Quran chapter 13 verse 7 that he sends warners, but also what comes from him to all people are guides. And so since it is to all people, then the times and places of the Prophet Muhammad is occupied with leaders from Allah to guide mankind to Allah's religion. Imam Ali is such a guide for the people. Chapter 2 verse 30 from the Quran also tells us that Allah will put Khalifa upon earth. Khalifa means successive authorities from the beginning of time until end of time, generation after generation, and we understand that there are successive authorities of the Prophet Muhammad for mankind, as the example of Imam Mahdi in our time for both sides of Islam. So Imam Ali comes to a time after Prophet Muhammad as a successive authority from Allah. A last verse to understand Imam Ali's position with Allah is from chapter 21 verse 72 to 73, where Allah made some prophets to become leaders, a step further in status, so they, the prophets whom became leaders, guide others with the order of Allah. This is the role of a successor. With the command of Allah, they guide others to Allah's way. And so Imam Ali, who is a leader, said to mankind, have this position with Allah, hence being given knowledge and power from Allah. Or more correctly phrased, it is Shia Islam that views the leaders to come after Prophet Muhammad as successors to each time to be in contact with Allah. Even the angels who are in less rank with Allah than Imam Ali have contact with Allah, and mother of Jesus, Maryam, is described through an angel to get information from Allah, which is mentioned in chapter 3 verse 45. Thus it is logical to state that Imam Ali also has contact with Allah, Shia Islam states, besides everything else mentioned here that would support this idea. The concept of leadership and successorship in the Quran is described to come from Allah and to have contact with Allah. Imam Ali is a leader said to mankind and a successor. For instance, when Prophet Abraham became a leader in chapter 2 verse 124, he had contact with Allah. When the prophets in chapter 21 verse 72 to 73 became leaders, they had contact with Allah, by Allah giving them order to guide people, and chapter 13 verse 7 mentions that guides to all people comes from Allah. Allah also in chapter 2 verse 30 mentions it is He who sends successive authorities, which means that the successive authorities of the Prophet Muhammad, according to Shia Islam, do have contact with Allah, since it comes from Allah. For both Sunni and Shia Islam, Imam Mahdi as a leader to our time has contact with Allah. According to both sides, it is Allah that has chosen him. Then it tells us that Imam Ali, who comes to a time directly after Prophet Muhammad, a great-great-great-grandfather to Imam Mahdi with higher status, must also have contact with Allah. Imam Ali is a representative in Allah's way for the religion. He has been given knowledge and power from Allah. After all, we can read from Shia sources in Al-Kafi volume 1 hadith 371 that Allah has two kinds of knowledge. There is the hidden, in which only Allah knows about, and also the knowledge in which Allah gives to His messengers, prophets, angels and imams. So from Shia Islam's perspective, the authority of all knowledge is from Allah. The authority of all is Allah, and He has a hidden knowledge in which only He knows about. This tells us that Shia Islam believes in the oneness of Allah, and that Allah is the main source of knowledge, and that Allah is the all-knowing while no one else is. And this Shia narration does not contradict the Quran, because Allah mentions Himself in the Quran that there is knowledge in which only Allah knows about, but also knowledge He shares to whom He wills. So Imam Ali's status with Allah is definitely very high. One should not be surprised if Imam Ali can enter the spiritual help of others with the permission of Allah, just like the opposite with shaitan in us, to have some powers with the permission of Allah to make us go astray. A spiritual help could be, for instance, that if I'm worried and call upon Ali, this feeling of worrying could, if Allah wants to, be erased. Just like, for instance, if I am in need of building a big wardrobe and I don't know how to build it, so I get worried about it until I ask a friend in the way of Allah for help, and my worry through this friend is erased. The concept is the same, but if Imam Ali really can help me in the way of Allah, why if I ask him for help he cannot build a wardrobe for me? Same question can then be asked about Allah, that if I ask Allah for help, why does Allah not help me build the wardrobe from scratch, from nothing, magically? In both Ali's case and the case of asking Allah, the wardrobe will be untouched. But isn't the case with Allah that if I ask Him for help, He can give me thoughts and wisdom for it? Same could be stated with Imam Ali, that if I call upon Imam Ali, Allah has permitted for him to enter my thoughts or have access to my thoughts to give me knowledge about it. A side note here is that Allah can build a wardrobe for me magically without me lifting a finger, and so could Imam Ali if I ask him, since he has been given knowledge and power from Allah to be able to. But in this case of a wardrobe, such help will not be responded. In this case of a wardrobe, a response from Allah or Imam Ali will not come, from neither. Therefore, we cannot say it must be that Imam Ali cannot hear me, because when I call upon him, he does not respond with help. It would be a problem if we said so, because likewise it can be stated about Allah that He cannot help me build a wardrobe magically when I call upon Him, due to the fact that the response is not there either. Does this mean that Allah does not hear me? So with your knowledge and power given to you by Allah, I can call upon you and ask you for help with certain things limited to your knowledge and power. Likewise, Imam Ali is able to give me help in a way of Allah with his knowledge and power. As long as Allah is Allah and He is the creator of everything, and that we see Imam Ali as nothing without Allah, just like any of us or whole of creation is nothing without Allah, as long as we worship only Allah, perform prayer only to Allah, everything explained here is fully acceptable within Islam and also logical for me to adhere to. And just like you don't need to help me if I ask you for help in math, Imam Ali can also decide if he wants to help me with what I ask for or not. So if there is no response, sometimes there is, but if sometimes not, then it isn't considered shirk because of it, just like it isn't shirk if I don't get response from you that you don't want to help me. Sometimes even Allah does not answer. For instance, if I call upon Allah and ask Him to make me become a prophet, then Allah will not answer me with a yes, just like you can give me a no when I ask you for help in math, and so for Imam Ali to also answer with a no, that a help will not come. Also, Allah has set for us a limit in what we can ask for. Above it we cannot ask. There is still no problem then if I, for instance, ask Imam Ali to give me knowledge in my thoughts about mathematics, since this is part of the limits. But I cannot ask Imam Ali to give me knowledge of the hour, the end of the world, since only Allah would know this and shares it with no one. But why not call upon Allah directly? One can do both. Both is permissible within Islam. Either you have the intention to call upon Allah or calling upon others in the way of Allah. Sometimes my intentions are that I call upon Allah. Sometimes my intentions are that I call upon Prophet Muhammad or Imam Ali or even you. But the others I call for besides Allah, I know that Allah is the main helper and He has given them the power and knowledge to help. But also that I only out of those I ask for help only pray to Allah. In the Quran chapter 5 verse 35, Allah mentions that we can reach Him or get close to Him through Himself or through intermediate way, in Arabic term called wasila. That is why, for instance, sometimes we ask our parents with their closeness to Allah to bless us. Allah Himself in the Quran mentions to love Allah we should follow Prophet Muhammad in chapter 3 verse 31. I ask you and I ask me. Would you and me directly want to reach Allah through ourselves without Prophet Muhammad as a wasila, as the correct guidance to Allah, or would we understand Allah through Prophet Muhammad's teachings about Him? Which is a shortcut, through yourself or through the teachings of Prophet Muhammad? We would go through Prophet Muhammad. I mean, even in logical worldly affairs, this is acceptable, such as if me and you visit a restaurant and you know the owner of the company, we might get the food for free if we go through you, or for us to reach the king of a country, we have to go through his soldiers. Reaching the king through the king's soldiers is a faster way than if we are going to contact the king directly, which is more difficult to approach, it takes longer time. One thing also as a side note I want to mention is that the word O, which in Arabic term is Ya, has by some also been misunderstood to only be used for Allah, or that only Allah uses the word Ya to whomever He wants, but not the other way around. In the Quran and also in Sunni narratives, the opposite is told that the word Ya can be used by anyone. Some examples are within the Quran chapter 2 verse 61, when people called upon Prophet Moses with the word Ya, saying Ya Moses, and when angels called upon Mary, mother of Jesus, saying Ya Maryam in chapter 3 verse 42. An example of a Sunni narrative mentioning Ya used to someone else other than Allah is from a lengthy narration where Umar calls upon Abu Bakr with Ya, saying Ya Abu Bakr, Musnad Ahmad 391. The concept of stating Ya to someone else other than Allah is fully permissible, and this is true for major part of Sunni Islam and within Shia Islam. Nowhere did Allah condemn this. Coming back to the main point, doesn't Allah mention in the Quran chapter 27 verse 80 to 81 that the dead cannot hear us, so it would be impossible to call upon, for instance, Imam Ali or Prophet Muhammad? So what then does the Quran mention about the dead not being able to hear us in chapter 27 verse 80 to 81? The verse mentions the following, and before I get into the verse, I want to mention that the word you in this verse refers to Prophet Muhammad. Indeed, you will not make the dead hear, nor will you make the deaf hear the call when they have turned their backs retreating. And you cannot guide the blind away from their error. You will only make hear those who believe in our verses, so they are Muslims, submitting to Allah. This verse, just like another verse in the Quran about the blind and the seeing not being equal, such as chapter 40 verse 58, is a metaphorical verse. In the Quran, there are literal verses that are interpreted exactly as it is written, but there are also verses that must be interpreted metaphorically to get the correct interpretation of the verse. In chapter 40 verse 58, when Allah mentions that the blind and the seeing are not equal, it doesn't mean literally that a blind person and a seeing person are not equal. Rather, the word blind in this verse refers to the disbelievers, while the seeing are the believers. In this way, the blind who are the disbelievers are not equal to the seeing, the believers. It becomes correct. If not interpreted metaphorically, then Allah would be unjust, stating that the blind and the seeing are not equal. Now on to Quran 27, 80, 81. The first sentence of Quran 27, 80, 81 states, Indeed you will not make the dead hear, nor will you make the deaf hear the call when they have turned their backs retreating. Is to say that the Prophet cannot make the dead, who are the disbelievers, and the deaf, who are the hypocrites, to listen to him. It is clear that the deaf are referred to the hypocrites because the verse directly mentions after that those the verse refers to did not turn back to the Prophet's call. If we study this part of the verse deeply, it states, Nor will you make the deaf hear the call. A call has been made to the deaf, but why would a call be made to the deaf if they are deaf? The interpretation about the next sentence in this verse, in that you cannot guide the blind away from the error, is that Allah wants to tell the Prophet that He cannot guide the blind people who are referred to as those who do not want to realize the truth. It would be problematic if this was taken literally, since something negatively can be interpreted about someone who is blind. Allah mentions in the last sentence of this verse that the Prophet can only make those who believe in Allah's verses listen, which means that only those who believe in Allah's religion will listen to the Prophet. In other words, this verse is not meant to say that the dead cannot hear, but the Quranic verse categorizes the non-believers, the hypocrites who will not hear the Prophet, and the believers who will hear the Prophet. Hearing, deaf and dead in this Quranic verse does not mean the literal meaning, rather it means the hypocrites and the unbelievers will not listen to the Prophet, while the believers will. If your brother does not listen to you, it is common to say to your father that your brother does not hear what you say. This does not mean that your brother is deaf, rather it is that your brother hears properly but doesn't listen to you anyway. This verse is a matter of obedience and disobedience, and not about who can hear and who cannot. It is even stated within a Sunni source that the Prophet addressed the dead people, and so the companions asked him why he speaks to those who cannot hear, while the Prophet replied to them that they can hear just as them. This is mentioned in Sahih Bukhari 40:26. So the case for Imam Ali to have given the power and knowledge to hear us is fully possible. To call upon Imam Ali and even ask him for help is not a problem based upon everything mentioned here. The evidence is included within the Quran, the Hadiths, and within practical but also logical examples. In the Quran, we have acceptable situations where the call is upon someone other than Allah and that help has been asked to other than Allah. These verses we have already discussed. It is even so that the verses about that we shouldn't call upon other than Allah and we shouldn't ask for help to other than Allah are verses aimed to mean that we shouldn't worship, pray to and see someone else than God but Allah. Not that we shouldn't call upon or ask each other for help in the way of Allah, which is permissible. When we look into the interpretation of the Quran by both Sunni and Shia scholars, they also mention about the verses of calling upon other than Allah and to ask for someone else than Allah to mean that we shouldn't pray to other than Allah, that we shouldn't worship other than Allah, and that we shouldn't see someone else as God but Allah. The scholars do not interpret it to mean that we cannot call upon each other in the way of Allah and that we shouldn't ask each other for help in the way of Allah. Because as long as we do not see the one we are calling upon to be Allah, and for the ones we are asking for help to solve our problems without Allah, then it is perfectly fine to say Ya Ali. We have, for instance, in chapter 29 verse 42, which mentions that Allah knows about those people that call upon other than Allah. But in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, a well-known Sunni interpretation of the Quran mentions to this verse that it means those we call upon besides Allah are not God, and that we should not pray to other than Allah. Ibn Kathir does not mention in this verse that we cannot call upon each other or that we cannot ask each other for help but to Allah. So as long as we understand that the ones we call upon besides Allah and the ones we ask for help besides Allah is not Allah, and that Allah is the one at the end that responds to us through those we call upon or ask help besides Allah, then it is permissible to call upon each other and ask each other for help. As long as we understand that all knowledge and power is from Allah and that those we ask for help in Allah's way only can help us with Allah's permission and will, then this act of calling upon you or Imam Ali is perfectly fine. It is also so that in Sunni narrations, including Sahih Bukhari 10:10 and Sahih Bukhari 40:26, it states as evidence that Umar ibn Khattab, one of the companions to the Prophet, turned to someone else other than Allah as a middle way to reach Allah when he asked the Prophet's uncle about rain instead of directly asking Allah for rain, but also that Prophet Muhammad himself addressed the dead people by asking them a question and for him to state that they can hear us. In these Sunni narrations, we can read examples of calling upon other than Allah, but also that we can call upon the dead. Furthermore, Imam Ali is not dead. He is alive according to the Quran and with high merits for him to be able to hear and help in Allah's way. And after all, Allah can make His representatives perform miracles. It is also practically and logically correct to call upon each other and ask each other for help in Allah's way. Allah mentions we can use means to reach Him. Hope that everything mentioned here is clear and that Shia Muslims do not leave Shia Islam because we say Ya Ali, as this is fully logical. As a conclusion, it will be stated, asking someone for help is not to worship someone. If I ask you for help, is it okay or not? It is okay. Allah has permitted for us to ask help from each other, otherwise why for instance go to university if we can call upon Allah for knowledge, but it doesn't work like this. The sons of Prophet Jacob came to Jacob and asked him directly before they asked Allah. Did Allah condemn this practice? No. Calling upon someone is not the same as worshipping them and praying to them. Yes, it is true that Allah is the creator of everything. He only is independent while everyone is in need of Him, and that He is the one we should make prayer for and bow down to. But calling Ali for help is like calling you for help in the way of Allah. The question is Ali present? Quran states martyrs in Allah's way are not dead. They are alive but we cannot perceive it, just like we cannot perceive Allah with our senses or gravity with our senses. Has Allah given Ali the ability to hear and respond? Why not? Allah is all-powerful and this is within logic, therefore possible. If Allah permits it, is this not possible? Allah cannot be all-powerful if we state that this is invalid. Even Shaitan, with the permission of Allah, can whisper to billions simultaneously. A servant of Prophet Solomon had little knowledge from Allah and could teleport kilometers away and turn back to Solomon before Prophet Solomon could blink. And Jesus, with the help of Allah, can resurrect the dead. As long as we do not see Ali as Allah and that we believe that Ali is nothing without Allah and that the knowledge and power to Him is only due to Allah, it is absolutely fine to say Ya Ali as I say Ya friend. Allah, according to Shia Islam and even Sunni Islam, made Ali a leader for mankind. This status was given to Prophet Abraham after he had finished all his tests with Allah. Abraham was first a Nabi, Rasul, Khalil, then he became a leader of mankind. This is the status of an Imam to mankind. Of course, it would not be a problem for Imam Ali to have such power and knowledge from Allah to help in the way of Allah. Even Dajjal has powers and even angels do help in the way of Allah in the unseen. The death angels can ask people, millions of them simultaneously in the grave. I can have my intentions to turn to Allah with my call or to others in the way of Allah. Prophet Jacob's eyes were cured with the shirt of Prophet Joseph, chapter 12, verse 96 states. Prophet Jacob didn't call upon Allah directly to cure his eyes, while it was Allah who made his eyes to be cured through Prophet Joseph's shirt. So why was this allowed? Isn't this incident with Prophet Jacob and Prophet Joseph considered as shirk? Can prophets commit shirk? Actually, for major part of Sunni Islam and within Shia Islam, this concept is acceptable as we Muslims should believe in the unseen. Part of the unseen is to believe that the prophets and imams are not dead, angels do exist, jinns do exist, etc. So it isn't far-fetched to believe all that has been mentioned. Only a minority within Sunni Islam, which actually has become very large nowadays, finds this to be untrue and in turn restricts us others for believing it. And the same Muslims who finds this concept of saying Ya Ali as worshipping other than Allah are the same who is all over the black stone in Kaaba, Mecca, fighting over to kiss it. Isn't this associating partners with Allah? Rather, we give answers that just as kissing the black stone of the Kaaba is permissible because our intentions is not seeing it as Allah or to worship it, but to bring us closer to Allah, same answer can apply upon the concept of calling upon Ali. I do not believe Ali is Allah when I say Ya Ali. No one among the Shia Muslims state Ali is Allah, and Shia Islam do not preach that we should pray to Imam Ali. Rather, Shia Muslims pray to Allah towards the Kaaba. When it is raining, it is Allah who makes it rain, but through an angel who is given order to make it rain, because Allah in His essence is outside of actions. Does it mean that the angel in this example is independent? No, it is through Allah this is possible. Ask yourself, is it possible with the permission of Allah that Imam Ali or Prophet Muhammad can hear us? As with the permission of Allah, Jesus can resurrect the dead. It would be shirk, meaning to associate partners with Allah, to believe that Jesus independently of Allah can resurrect the dead, or for Imam Ali to hear me without Allah involved making it possible. It would be shirk to say that Imam Ali can hear us and help us independently of Allah. So with Allah's permission, it is allowed and logically acceptable that Jesus can resurrect the dead and for Imam Ali to hear me when I call upon him. You will say, show me in the Quran that Imam Ali can hear me or you. I will say that the Quran has the concept and it is enough. The concept of it is that Allah's righteous servants can perform miracles, again only with the permission of Allah. And also is it so that within the one side of Islam which is true, there are more explanations and evidence that Imam Ali can hear us. So since Islam is a combination of Quran and Hadiths, I use the Quran and the Hadiths from Shia Islam to tell you that Imam Ali can hear us and help us. We cannot say but it isn't true since it isn't in Sunni books. Firstly, even there the concept exists. But secondly, then we have to discuss other topics for us first to conclude which is true, Sunni Islam or Shia Islam. Then take the Hadiths from that side of Islam which is the truth. One can watch my videos about why I adhere to Shia Islam in this channel. Can we use the Bible to explain things? No, we cannot. So we cannot use the Sunni books as reference to find if Imam Ali can hear us or not. Since if Shia Islam is the correct side of Islam, then we should take the Hadiths from Shia Islam as evidence. And so from the Quran and the Shia Hadiths, it is evident that Imam Ali can hear us with Allah's power given to him and with Allah's permission. And you cannot ask for a direct verse about if Imam Ali can hear me when I call upon him or not, since the Quran in itself does not mention how to pray, how to perform Hajj, and for instance who the first successor to Prophet Muhammad is. The concept is there that we should pray, perform Hajj, and for Allah to send successive authorities to end of time, in which Surah 2 verse 30 mentions. Then we look into the Hadiths to see, for instance, how to perform Salah, Hajj, and who the first successor is. Likewise, it doesn't have to be there specifically that Imam Ali can hear us or not. The concept should be there, and so the concept is there. Thus, this is permissible. Now imagine you have a stone in front of you and you want to turn this stone into a snake. You stretch your hand to the stone and do your best, but you realize it will not work. But with the power of Allah, the stone can turn into a snake. Imam Ali can hear us with this principle. Just like me, if I split the sea or turn a stone into a snake, it doesn't come from me, the power comes from Allah. If I by myself try to split the sea or turn a stone into a snake, I will not be able. But with the power of Allah, in the unseen God, I can make the stone turn into a snake and split the sea. Likewise with Imam Ali, the ability given to him by Allah, the power comes from Allah, the permission comes from Allah, and so Imam Ali can help. Try stretching your hand to the sky and split the moon. You will not be able. But with Allah's power and permission, then even I can split the moon. Is this not logical? Is not Allah Almighty and wise for Him to make this possible? It is something else to say that Allah can exist and not at the same time, which is not possible. This is a paradoxical claim, but for Imam Ali to help in this way is within logic and not paradoxical. Surah Al-Hamd mentions do not worship anyone besides Allah and do not call upon anyone besides Allah. We should only pray to Allah and we should only see Allah as the true God, is what this verse is telling us. Not that we should only call upon Allah or else we are doomed. Yes, if we read this literally, then we cannot call upon anyone other than Allah. But this is not logical since we call upon each other every day and this is permissible. Do not exclude the metaphorical interpretation to a literal verse. If we only take the verses of the Quran as it is written, then Allah mentions in the Quran in chapter 50 verse 16 that He is closer to us than our jugular vein. If we take this literal, then Allah is in a place within us, closer to us than our jugular vein, which is not true. There are verses from the Quran that is interpreted literally and metaphorically, so that it could be stated that the verse in Surah Al-Hamd when Allah mentions, do not call upon anyone besides Allah, is to say that do not see anyone else than God but Allah. The verses in the Quran about do not call upon anyone besides Allah or do not ask for help to anyone besides Allah are to those pagans that saw someone else than God and not for Shia Muslims, in which is described in both Sunni and Shia books of interpretations. They, the pagans, thought of someone as Allah, but it was not, while for Shia Muslims the true God is only Allah. The Shia Muslims understand that whatever we call for help in the way of Allah, such as asking a friend for help with math, or to ask Imam Ali now to relieve my stress, is that this is only possible to take place with the permission of Allah and that Allah has given these people the ability to help. But why call upon Imam Ali when you can directly call upon Allah? This I have already explained, but to make it clear again, then why don't I call upon Allah directly when I cannot solve a math problem? Rather, I go to a friend and have in mind that Allah is helping me through that friend. In Surah Al-Hamd it says, do not call upon anyone besides Allah. If taken as it is written, then we all are performing shirk daily when we call upon each other and ask each other for help. Then someone will say, yes, you can call upon anyone besides Allah, as long as this person is alive. But firstly, Imam Ali or Prophet Muhammad, with the permission of Allah, are not dead. And secondly, this verse is a general verse, meaning it does not divide dunya from barzakh. Here Allah states, do not call upon anyone besides me. He doesn't say, you can call upon anyone in this world, but not in the next world. Rather, Allah states for all worlds, do not call upon anyone besides Allah. So if this was taken literally, then we cannot even call upon each other in this world. But as we have explained, this verse means something else. Now in Surah Al-Hamd it states, you alone we ask for help, and not exactly as I have said it to be, do not call upon anyone besides Allah. But another verse that can apply to my analysis is from chapter 72 verse 18, which mentions exactly do not call upon besides Allah, so that one cannot state, but Surah Al-Hamd does not mention do not call upon besides Allah. Even though I should have mentioned directly chapter 72 verse 18 in my analysis here rather than Surah Al-Hamd, Surah Al-Hamd was actually also a good example because the same principle is applied to this verse, that Allah does not mean to say in Surah Al-Hamd that we shouldn't ask anyone for help besides Him. Rather, He in this verse, as for chapter 72 verse 18, also aims to explain that we shouldn't see someone else than God besides Allah. So Surah Al-Hamd was not a wrong example either, but to be totally accurate with the Quranic words, then chapter 72 verse 18 is a clearer example. Allah's oneness does not diminish with this concept of saying Ya Ali, and I as a Shia Muslim still love Allah more than anyone else and even call upon Him more often than I do to others. With this concept of saying Ya Ali, Allah is still one in His creatorship. Calling upon Ali as I call upon you does not mean that Allah did not cause the universe and all life and that He isn't one in His kingship. No one is God besides Allah if we call upon other than Allah, and when we call upon other than Allah, still no one competes with Allah in worship. No one takes his names and attributes if we call upon other than Allah. Allah's names and attributes are still for Allah and no one else if I say Ya Ali or Ya Muhammad or Ya friend. If we state that Imam Ali takes Allah's names if he by the permission of Allah can hear us, then this is already the case for Prophet Jesus, who takes the name of Al-Muhyi, one of Allah's 99 names, which means the giver of life in case of resurrecting the dead. But as Allah has accepted this act of Prophet Jesus with Allah's permission, then certainly Allah can permit it for Imam Ali to have power and knowledge in Allah's way without taking Allah's names and attributes, as in the case of Prophet Jesus. It doesn't mean because Prophet Jesus can resurrect the dead that he shares one of the names of Allah, because it is through Allah that Prophet Jesus can do it, and because Prophet Jesus cannot do it independently, likewise with Imam Ali. So ultimately no one shares Allah's names with Allah. These are for Allah alone, and He is independent, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Allah is the creator of Imam Ali and Prophet Jesus and us all. Even if Allah gives permission for Imam Ali to hear us and for Prophet Jesus to resurrect the dead, firstly Allah can take away from them this ability within a split second, and secondly He can make it for them to use their abilities limited. This is the Shia position. Imam Ali is there for a believer as a friend is there, so calling upon him is like calling upon a friend. Both are present as we have given proofs. And by thinking about Imam Ali or calling upon him, remembering this personality can also bring us closer to Allah, in which one of the purposes also is with this call, to feel spirituality with Allah. Since a pious believer in our life is someone we around this person acts more righteous and think about Allah more. Imagine if you visit a friend that is righteous or think of a friend that is righteous, automatically it turns your thoughts to do better for Allah. Lastly, Allah is still one in creatorship even if I call Imam Ali or you. He is still one in divinity, and for us to all to only worship Him even if I call Imam Ali or you, and no one shares the essence, the names and attributes with Allah for stating Ya Ali or Ya friend. To what has been presented, you can agree or not, I'm not a judge, but this is what I find to be logical, and logic we use to understand every conclusion. Perhaps this topic is difficult to understand, I do not know. The best would first be to strengthen one's relationship with Allah and understand Him first. Then once one gets to know Allah, understand who Prophet Muhammad is, and finally then understand Imam Ali. In this way it will become much easier to grasp what has been presented. It is true that we should not worship besides Allah. That is the correct way. The intentions are very important. Hope I have made it clear. Only goodwill.